All right, this week we're going to learn about some of the move and modification commands. Um, Before I get into that, I didn't show you this last week or the previous week. There's a couple of line commands that I want you to learn about because you're going to be using them doing drawings. The first one is the construction line or the X line command. So if I type XL, that's X line, okay, enter. And this is the construction line. And I can, um, I have options down here across the bottom. I can do a horizontal line, a vertical line, an angular line, bisect, and offset, which are not too common. But basically what it means is that you draw a line, and that line goes from infinity to infinity, okay, which is good for construction lines. Okay, so let's switch over to that layer so we'll know what we're doing. And so I'll go X line again. And if I go horizontal, and let's say I want it to go through a certain point, I want it to go through 0, 0. So 0, comma 0, enter. And there it is. And you can see this command stays active so that you could do more construction lines as long as you keep the same options. So we'll say I want this one to go through 0, comma 2. Okay, so that's that. And vertical works the same way, 0, comma 0. Okay, angular is very similar. A for angle. Now I want the angle of the line, and if you know what the angle you want, we'll say 45, and it needs to go through a point, we'll say 0, 0. All right. Now remember, that angle is based on the x-axis of AutoCAD being 0. Okay. All right, so that's construction lines. The other is called ray, and it's a construction line with a starting point. Okay. And so all you're doing is giving it a starting point, and then it goes to infinity in whatever direction you've got there. So those are a couple of lines that you're gonna end up using. Okay, now on to our modify. Let's start with the move command. Now I use the rectangle command to draw a square, okay, or a box. And if I use the move command, all right, and the keyboard shortcut is M for move, this works two ways. Most of these commands work two ways. You can select your object first, then execute the command, or you can execute the command and then select your object. So in this case, I'll select my object, and then I have to press enter or right click my mouse. And now it's asking for a base point. If you can, click a point on the object, or you can click a point somewhere else. Like we have intersecting construction lines and we want to move or copy or something like that. Or you can type in your base point. So I'm going to pick that. And then I move it up. I can move it. So I've got my polar tracking snap, that green line. I can move it at angles based on the polar tracking. Okay, so that's the basics of move. Now let's do that again. But I want to choose displacement this time. So I type D on the keyboard. And I'm going to move it until it's displaced a certain distance from the origin, from 0, 0. And so just for giggles, I'm going to drop this one at 2, comma 2. Okay. And just to show you that again, I'm going to start the move command again and go displacement And now I'm going to type in, we'll say 4 comma 4. Okay, and that, I thought I typed in 4 comma 4. I must have mistyped something. Oh, I guess wherever my mouse is gives me the base point, huh? That's not cool. Hmm, interesting. And then I type D for displacement. Interesting. Okay, and so that moved it to 6 comma 6. So the displacement kind of is based on the 0 point, but then whatever your base point you click in, it's that. So that's move. Now copy works very much the same way. You select your objects and you select a base point, okay, and then you can move things with polar and create copies of these things. You can type in the distance or the angle, okay. So now let's look at that again. And our options down here, pretty much the same before. Is we've got displacement that works the same way as move. We have a mode here. So if I hit O, the letter O on the keyboard, the mode is either single or multiple. So if single is selected, when you copy, it copies one single time per command. But if multiple is selected, like you just saw, I can make multiple copies as I move it around, okay? And so let's look at it again. And you can select, multiple objects. That's fine. Um, Array, we'll deal with array later in the course. All right, so there's how copy works. So let me clean this up a little bit. Okay. Rotate. The rotate command, or the keyboard shortcut would be RO. And so I'll select my object. And I need a base point again, so I pick a base point. And I can use my mouse to drag the rotation, or I can type in a rotate angle. Okay, and it rotates my object based on that. All right, now if I use the copy command, let me start over with this one up here. Not copy. Select a base point, and now I want to go copy, so C, enter, and now I can rotate a copy of the object. Okay, and then reference works the same, kind of similar way that you choose a reference line that you're going to rotate about. Okay. Let's look at some more of these here. The mirror command, and let's put a line in here. Okay, so I'm going to go mirror, and what this does is we can either copy and mirror objects, or we can mirror objects and delete the originals. But we need a line of some kind to copy them about. So I've selected my objects. Now it wants to know the first point of the mirror line. If I haven't, I can use an existing line here, as you can see. I could have used the edge of the object, Okay, that would work too. Now it's asking me, do I want to erase the source, the original ones? If I say no, then it keeps both of them. If I were to say yes, it would delete these down below here. Okay, scale and stretch. Um, so scale does just that. It scales an object, and so you pick a base point, and then you can drag your mouse, and it keeps everything the same, x and y, the ratio of the two. And so you could type in a scale factor, meaning a multiplication factor. So I could say 2, and it would make it 2 times as large as originally. Um, if I do a scale factor of 0.5, it makes it half as large as it was originally. Okay, one of the other ones here, stretch, it's just that it stretches an object. Okay, and so we'll go for a base point here. Now that was weird. Huh. Maybe because it's a polyline. I don't know. Mm-mm. Oh man, I touched my keypad there. This is not working right. So let's try this way. If I hover over it, uh, no, that didn't do it. Because I kept getting the pop up a while ago on the thing. Here we go. So I could go stretch, and now I can pull out. I don't know why it wasn't working with the keyboard, but and so you can see now I can pull out that triangular, or not triangular, that little rectangular handle on it, and I can stretch an object. And of course, I can type in a distance there that I want to stretch it. And it could be skewed and while I'm doing that with the grips. So that's, look at my notes. Uh, that's a lot of the things. We're at 12 minutes. I'll pause this one. You just got to play with these things to kind of get a feel for them. Look at the options in the command line for what's available. And then I'll come back with another video, and then we've got an exercise for you this week.